Hello, I'm Sheryl McCarthy of the City University of New York. Welcome to One to One. Each week, we address issues of timely and timeless concern with newsmakers and the journalists who report on them, with artists, writers, scientists, educators, social scientists, activists, government leaders. We speak with each one to one. I'm delighted to welcome essayist, poet, and teacher Rachel Bergash to the program. Her latest work is about her life. Half the House, My Life in and Out of Jerusalem, has just been published by Sunstone Press. Bilingual and with strong ties to both the United States and Israel, she and her family feel both at home and homesick in each place. Her life in and out of Jerusalem has spanned the period from before the birth of the State of Israel, the War for Independence, and decades of hostility and violence between Jews and Arabs as they grappled with the question of what will be Palestine's future. Yet hers is not a political book, but an intensely personal one about family, self-discovery, spirituality, and the emotional pull and tug of an historic city. Welcome.
Thank you.
So, you are a poet, essayist, you've been trained as a social worker, you conducted a long-standing seminar that dealt with the religions of the world. So why a memoir?
You know, it's funny. I didn't intend to write a memoir. I started writing a poem about Jerusalem. And the lines became longer. And there was a paragraph. I then started writing about my mother and father. I wanted to give them a voice. They were raised very poor. They made something out of their lives. And paragraph led to another paragraph. Each paragraph led to another paragraph. Then I had a chapter about Jerusalem. I had a chapter about my mother. I had a chapter about my father. And I said, well, let me go on. So I really didn't plan to write about my life.
Okay. But here we are.
And here we are.
As I said in the introduction, your life in and out of Jerusalem spans, I mean, I thought it was great that it spanned the period from, it starts before Israel was created, right, obviously up to the present time, because you're still here. So you have a very large view of how that city has evolved over time.
Yes.
You seem to have I'm going to say a love-hate relationship with Jerusalem. It shaped you, but it also smothered you, and you felt you had to get away from it in order to grow. Tell me about that.
Well, I got away from it by marrying Mark, who is an American artist. So I didn't plan to come to New York. We met in Jerusalem, and we got married, and he wanted to move to New York. And so we did. So it was really an accident that I'm here.
Right.
But now that I'm here, I've been here for almost 50 years. I look back. I'm very grateful to the city for providing so many possibilities. I'm grateful to my psychoanalyst who was also a teacher of the seminars that you mentioned, interdisciplinary seminars in religion and philosophy, and where the seed of my spiritual life was in Jerusalem. New York watered the garden, watered the seed, and I was able to. I grew here really.
The picture you paint of Jerusalem when you were a child, it was a place of some hardship, but it was also a special place, you said.
Yes.
And it felt special to live there. Tell me about that.
Yes. It was a place, we were very idealistic. I grew up in a country where we were really for the country. Nobody had to tell us this. The president didn't tell us, you know. We grew up to think about the country as first. We were second. They were not for us. We were for them. Of course, ultimately, you know, the country is for Jews. But we were for Israel. And so we were very idealistic. It was special in the sense that the city has churches, it has mosques, it has synagogues. There was no conflict then between the religions. I mean, minimum compared to now.
Right.
You could hear bells. You could hear the guy calling from the mosque. You could see people praying at the Wailing Wall. My father grew up in the old city of Jerusalem. In fact, he's fifth generation Jerusalemite. So in that sense, it was very special. It was special because it provided ideals for us.
Is there any other city in the world that has as much history and so much emotional resonance for so many different groups? Probably not.
Probably not.
Probably
not. And without a conflict then, I think
right.
that's the beauty of the city at the time.
Right, right. And you talk about your family going to visit an Arab family and Arabs who lived.
Yeah, my father had Arab customers.
What kind of store was it?
It was a stationery store in the center of town. It was wholesale.
Okay.
And Arabs came from the old city of Jerusalem to buy at his store. And he spoke Arabic fluently. And I could see, even as a little girl, a bond there.
Right, right. So I also picked up Tel Aviv was a very different kind of city. That seemed to be the sort of place you went for a little action, a little fun, as opposed to Jerusalem, which is really quiet and slow. Was that
Exactly, it? Exactly. You went to Tel Aviv, it was a voyage. When I was a teenager, I had such a hard time being permitted to go to Tel Aviv.
How far away was Tel Aviv?
It was like 2 hours. Then it was maybe 2 hours.
Okay.
Now it's 40 minutes
okay.
With highways and all that.
Okay.
And I had to beg to go to Tel Aviv. It was like a little risque, maybe a little, but we went to the beach. We went to a swimming pool in Tel Aviv. I mean, there wasn't much going on like nowadays, but whatever was going on there, it was active. Jerusalem was
much more modern and hip than Jerusalem.
Right.
Okay. Right. So the State of Israel comes into being in 1948. How did things change? Once you have the State of Israel, how did it change for your family in Jerusalem?
For my family, I'm an only child, so it's just my parents. I remember when the country became Israel. My father was a little worried. He said he liked the British, and he liked the order that they put in the country. They built roads. I mean, after the Ottoman Empire, after the Turks were ruling Palestine, the British were saviors, really. And he liked the order they provided. And he was actually afraid that, a country run by Jews, it's going to be a little chaotic. Their life didn't change much, but the lives of the young people changed. I mean, I served in the army. Again, very idealistic. We were we thought we are a superior breed. We felt contemptuous towards everybody.
Those of you who were in the army, you mean?
No. Those of us who were born in Israel felt contempt towards immigrants, people who came from the Holocaust, survivors of the Holocaust, Sephardic Jews. We were Ashkenazi Jews. Sephardic Jews, Yemenite Jews, and of course the Arabs.
Okay.
We were contemptuous. Every group looks down to another group.
Somebody, right.
Right. But then I think now, when I look back, for years actually, when I look back, I said, how dare we? So.
But also relations between Jews and Arabs changed.
Yes.
After the state was created.
Right. Yes. The old city was captured by the Arabs. The old city of Jerusalem. My father longed to be there. he was, that was his home.
And you could no longer go there.
You can no longer go there. They became the enemy.
Okay. And you had this green line dividing the city. Does the green line still exist?
Well, they always talk about the green line. No, now there's a wall.
Okay.
But the green line, they talk about the green line, going back to the green line, when there's going to be a Palestine for the Palestinians.
Right, right. You seem to have a secure and loving childhood. Your parents gave you the freedom to be yourself, to stay home from school if you didn't feel like going, to experience your own emotions. Yet you had a complicated relationship with your mother. You said yes. She discouraged your academic pursuits, yes. Your writing, your music.
Right. My mother wanted me to rest.
To rest?
To rest. She wanted me to lie down and be pretty.
Okay.
And she wanted me to smile.
Okay.
And she wanted me to be a mother. She wanted me to get married. She wanted me to have children. She never objected to me reading. But she used to say to me, you know, why do you study so hard? You'll never be a professor. And I played the piano, and she actually never listened. And she would get angry at me if I didn't obey her. I mean, sometimes the littlest transgression made her angry.
She wanted you to be a very traditional
yes.
Jewish
yes.
girl.
The way she was.
Okay.
The way she was.
Okay.
And I went to school, I went to Academy of Music, but it was my thing. She never paid attention to that. Mm-hmm. And I think it was hurtful.
Right.
I got a little bit of encouragement from my father. And later on, I really resented it. And later on, when I started writing poetry, and I would read it to her, she'd say, read me a poem. And I would start reading, and she would look away. On the other hand, my mother was always on my side. I think if I had murdered somebody, she would be on my side. Mm-hmm. She defended me. She used to go to, if a teacher said, your daughter talks too much, she would say, well, I know my daughter is intelligent. If your class was interesting, she
wouldn't talk so much. Interesting,
yes,
interesting.
Yeah.
Complicated relationships between mothers and daughters.
Yes, yeah.
We're going to take a short break, but we'll be back with more with Rachel Bergash after the following messages.
I'm lucky. Let me help you with that. I get to do something I love. It has nothing to do with touchdowns or titles.
Everybody bring it in.
I get to play a part in the life of someone just starting out.
How many of you think homework is just as important as teamwork?
I help keep kids in school.
Good.
And that's the name of the game.
My name is LaDainian Thomason. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer. Live United.
Welcome back to One to One. I'm Sheryl McCarthy of the City University of New York, and I'm talking with Rachel Bergash, author of Half the House, My Life in and Out of Jerusalem, which has just been published by Sunstone Press. Your parents were observant Orthodox Jews, and you seem to have felt smothered by the demands of having to be observant.
Yes. Well, the religion was really shoved down my throat, to put it mildly. No, crassly, actually. Some of it didn't make sense to me. I discovered that some of it didn't make sense to me when I was a teenager, but I didn't quite know what was going on. As a child, I loved the rituals. I loved the prayers. I loved the blessings. Mm-hmm. But when I became a teenager, something just didn't work for me. And there was a lot of anger, for instance. I remember when I was 20, I came back from the army, and my parents, before eating, you're supposed to wash your hands, and I didn't want to. And oh, what a fuss!
And you're supposed to say,
and you're
grace.
supposed to say, yes, a blessing.
Right.
Sit down and take from the bread and say a blessing, and I didn't want to wash my hands. Now I love it. Mm-hmm.
Do you know why you didn't? Why you?
Well, I was probably rebelling.
Okay.
There was some probably it was a rebellion. I
Right.
just didn't want to have much to do with that. And it was only later when I took the seminars and I studied other religions, and I abandoned my own religion, really. The practice, I never abandoned my Judaism. I was Jewish, I'm always going to be Jewish. But I abandoned the practice of the religion. While I was taking seminars, it opened a window for me to the world. Other religions, other notions, other ideas. I was so excited. It was all so interesting to me. There are other ways of thinking. And so later on, I happened to come by the Carlebach Shul, which is
on the west side.
the west side, yes. And the Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach, he was giving a sermon at the time. It was Yom Kippur. I came in with my son, and we were both struck by the beauty of his speech. He was so much himself, very authentic. That shul provides a lot of freedom. You can come dressed as you wish. You don't have to be observant. You can really practice the religion on your own terms.
In your own way.
In your own way. And so while Dr. McLean taught me about other religions, it was kind of a detour. Shlomo Carlebach
Sort of brought you back.
Yes, provided an opportunity for me to practice my own religion.
Now, you went into the Israeli army, I guess, for 2 years?
Yes,
That's the
right.
term. How old were you when you went in?
18.
That seemed to have been a liberating experience for you?
Yes, that was great. I was on my own and away from my parents, away from my mother monitoring me. I had my first boyfriend, and I felt the freedom to be who I wanted to be for
Right.
2 years.
Well, that seems to be where, I mean, I heard people say, you know, the Israeli, the army model, because that's where young people go and grow up, you know.
Yes,
And
yes.
unfortunately, we don't have anything like that here. You know, teenagers just stay at home and drive their parents crazy.
Yes, yes,
So after the army, you worked in for a while, and then you came to visit your uncle in a suburb of New York. And what was that? What was it like coming to America?
That visit was great, really. But on one hand, on the other hand, I didn't get much of New York. We were in the suburbs, and we just came to the city every once in a while. I didn't get the feeling for New York. It was like a rehearsal for living here. It wasn't at all, even though I was here for 4 months, it wasn't really the real thing until I came and lived
Right.
here.
So you went back to Jerusalem,
I came
and you meet an American.
Yes.
And you marry him, and you come back to New
and
York.
you're saying that, and I'm thinking, I told my mother, I will never marry I dated men here. And I came back and I said to him, I will never marry an American.
Why did you say that?
Because we were superior, because everybody was stupid, even Americans.
Okay. Compared to you.
Compared to us.
Okay.
Shameful. But that's how we felt, and that's how I felt.
So you come to here. Your husband is an artist.
Yes, right.
And you live in Washington House for a while, and then in the West Side. As you talked about joining this seminar on the interior life, which really opened up a whole new world for you, a whole new way of thinking.
Yes, yes. New ideas. I love new ideas.
But during all this time that you're living here, do the events that are going on back in Israel affect you and your parents? I mean, there's the 1967 war, there's the 1973 war, there's all the turmoil and violence that's going on back and forth between the Jews and the Palestinians. How did that affect you?
I have been, and I still am touched by it deeply. I cry. I cry a lot because of Israel. I remember when prisoners were taken in Lebanon. That was years ago. I wrote a poem about it. I'm very touched by everything that happens in Israel. Politically, religiously, spiritually, I think spirituality, because of the wars, because of the many wars and this constant threat, the spirituality is not as it used to be when I was growing up. We were idealistic. We were spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't want anything we didn't have.
Right.
It's very materialistic now. People compensate for the lack, because they don't have peace, because they're always under threat. So they compensate, I think, by living a more material life.
And probably more political than spiritual.
And more political than spiritual.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So you discovered this Hasidic synagogue on the west side, and you start attending and find it gives you a way back to your own religion.
Right.
And you gradually resume even some of the rituals
Yes.
that you had given up.
Yes, yes. So Friday night is very sacred for my husband and me.
Uh-huh.
And
Though your husband, I gather, is not as religious as you.
no, but he likes Friday night because that's the night I cook.
Oh. Now we know why. Okay.
Well, he
It's the
likes it.
food.
He likes he likes the ritual. He never skips washing the hands.
Uh-huh.
And I say the kiddush, and we eat from the bread, and that from the challah that is covered.
Right.
And there is this pause, this rest, this spiritual rest that we both like.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go to shul. I try to go every Sabbath. I don't always succeed. And of course, on the holidays. And tonight is Hanukkah, so I'm going to shul to eat latkes and see whatever else is going on there.
So you talk about, so when you go back to the old neighborhood, how different is it from when you were a child? I mean, you talk about it's more materialistic now, but what do you love about the Jerusalem of today, and what do you not like about the Jerusalem of today?
Well, it's more beautiful now than it was when I was growing
Really?
up. Yes. I mean, the mountains were always beautiful, but the streets were dusty and gray, and now they're beautiful neighborhoods.
What did they do? They just cleaned up the street. What did they?
There's more of it, there's more of it.
Okay.
And so, I mean, I lived in the north of Jerusalem, not in a posh neighborhood, to say the least. And when I come, and we lived amongst Sephardic and Ashkenazi Jews, Yemenite Jews. Now everybody is ultra-religious in that neighborhood. It's very, very different. And the main street is full of shop. The drugstore where I used to go had an owner there, was very friendly. And now his granddaughter runs the store, and there's all these bottles,
Right.
shining on the shelf, which we didn't have then. We used to go there to make a phone call and to weigh ourselves, because we didn't have a phone.
Right.
So things have changed. Things have changed. Of course, the political life, the wars.
What do you see ahead? I used to think that the animosities between the British and the Irish were never going to end, and yet they have ended for some time, and they're getting along. But the Israeli Jews and the Palestinians are still at it. What do you think is going to happen?
I have, my dream is that there's going to be peace, that one day it's going to be a process. But I have this dream, this vision. There must be peace. I mean, wars are evil, but they're also stupid. You have to be mad not to want to live in peace. And I feel, and I think Sarah Nusebi, a Palestinian intellectual, said that there's a mysterious bond between the Israeli Jews and the Palestinians, and I honestly believe that. I think it's there, but it's buried under all the wars.
What is the bond? What is the bond?
There is something. When I go to there was this magazine store on Park Avenue South, run by Palestinians, and I used to love to go there. And we start talking, and you feel it. It's mysterious. You feel it. There was a shop of food on Lexington Avenue. I used to go there. And he lives in Haifa. He's a Palestinian. I come from Jerusalem. He came from Haifa. You know, and there's an immediate connection. And in Israel, too, my husband, I accompanied my husband on a project where he photographed Israeli Jews and Israeli Arabs.
Right.
And I met a few Arabs, and this poet, this Palestinian poet, there was an immediate connection between us. Maybe sharing the same land, maybe you know, going through so much. If you're able to transcend it, the suffering and the killing and all that.
Maybe you can get together one day.
Yes, yes.
Well, it's all very interesting, and so is the book. I want to thank Rachel Bergash for joining me today. Hat the House, My Life in and Out of Jerusalem, has just been published by Sunstone Press. For the City University of New York and 1 to 1, I'm Sheryl McCarthy. If there are any people you'd like to hear from or topics you'd like us to explore, please let us know. You can write to me at CUNY TV, 365 Fifth Avenue, New York, New York, 10016, or you can go to the website at cuny.tv and click on Contact Us. I look forward to hearing from you.